32. So when they say, oh, Israel pursued a law that would lead to righteousness, and yet they did not succeed. Why? Is it because they failed to obey the whole law? No. Look at verse 32. Why did they fail? Because they did not pursue it by faith, as if it were based on works. So salvation in the Old Testament was by faith. Salvation in the New Testament, still by faith. They have stumbled over the stumbling stone, as Paul says. So why the sheep? Why do all these things? Why sacrifice a cow, a bull, a lamb? Di ba sayang? And look at all the blood that would be spilled. You see, the nature of man is we always look at our works. What was the law for? Why did God create that whole sacrificial system? If you sin small, you offer a pigeon. You sin big, you offer a cow. You know, why did God have to do that? It is to show two things. One, that sin is so costly. And two, it's to be paid by an innocent life as a substitute for yours. So the law was supposed to point to those two things. Sin is costly. You can't pay for it. So an innocent life has to die for you. And that's a foreshadow of the future. And yet, what did the Israelites feel? I paid for the pigeon. I saved some money. I bartered to buy this lamb so I could bring it to the temple. I was the one who went to the priest. I paid the priest. I did all this. I, me, my works, my sacrifice. That was never the point. Our focus should not have been, or their focus should not have been on the sacrifice that they made. It should have been on the sacrifice that the animal made for them. In the same sense, today, we ought not think of it this way, that, God, I'm sacrificing for you. Every Sunday for me, it's Valentine's Day, and I'm in church. I didn't go on dates. I learned about your sovereignty. Look at my sacrifice, God. It ought not be that way. We shouldn't think in such a way that, our righteousness is increasing because I go to more Bible studies, I pray more, I pray longer, I pray with tears now, I attend 5 Bible studies a week, Monday to Friday. It's not about how much we do for God. In fact, we do all these things because of what God has done for us on the cross. Interestingly, Paul says that they stumbled over the stumbling stone. What's a stumbling stone? Nadagma sila, napandol on a stone. What is this stone? Verse 33, as it is written, Behold, I am laying in Zion a stone of stumbling and a rock of offense, and whoever believes in him will not be put to shame. So who's the stone? It's the him. Who is this in him? That's Christ. That's Jesus Christ himself. And he's the stumbling stone. Why? Because we're so used to thinking of our own righteousness. Even as Christians, we do this all the time. We start thinking of all the things we've done for God. Our obedience, our prayers, our service in ministry. And so when something bad happens, as a Christian, how do we normally, or what's the first instinct? Is it, it's okay, Lord? Or is it, Lord, I've done so much and you allow this to happen? I thought you're sovereign. I thought you loved me. I'm elect. I'm chosen, right? So why in the world is this happening to me? At the end of the day, we have to accept that He's the potter and we are the clay. Whatever He decides is right, is right. Whatever He decides is honorable, is honorable. If He says something is dishonorable, then it's dishonorable. The true surrender to the sovereignty of God is not a kind of surrender that says, I'm going to do it because you've got more power than me. And if I resist you, I lose anyway. So I'll do it. That's not true surrender to His sovereignty. Real surrender is here in the heart. It's a surrender that says, God, I trust you. God, I know that you know what's best. You know what's best. And you want what's best. Because of that, I can let go. Now, let's give a caveat. It doesn't mean that you're not going to work anymore and say, I want a job, Lord, so I'm just going to sit here and wait. It doesn't mean that the sovereignty of God is going to do it for you. We still do what we can. We still work hard. We still strive. We still do whatever is wise to do. But we leave the results to God. So think about it for a moment. Think of your life. What are some things that you've been praying for? You've been hoping for? You've been waiting for a long, long time. And because it's Valentine's Day, feel free to hugot. Right? Diba? Lord, ano ba yan? Diba? Or Lord, ano ba siya? Right? Or sino ba siya? For some, it's the opposite. It's not that they've been waiting for God to do something for them. They've been waiting for God to stop something in their life. You know, a pattern of behavior that you hate. Lord, I don't want to do this anymore. Why do I keep going back? Or Lord, I don't want to have this. For some, it's a disease. Some have a sickness that's really painful. Others, it's just financial issues. Others, it's relationships. Lord, I'm showing you how much I love this person. Christ love na, grabe. I keep giving this person Christ love. And he returns nothing to me but demonic hate. Like, Lord, sao na lang. Diba? So, what do we do? Right? So to conclude, when the sovereignty of God is in the picture, there are certain applications that we have to remember. First and foremost, you have to ask yourself, we need to ask ourselves, what is our view of God, and what is our view of man? Do we see God as really the potter who has the right to do anything and everything he pleases? If the answer is yes, then we have no right to complain or to shake our fists or to be lain na gud ato gud. We just have to learn to accept things. That's why I like the prayer that says, Lord, teach me to know the difference between the things that I need to change, the things I need to accept. Timothy Keller, one of my favorite preachers today, he says this: if your God, quote unquote, if your God never disagrees with you, you might just be worshiping an idealized version of yourself. Right? It's true. So do you accept God's self-revelation about himself? And do you accept God's revelation about you? That's the first thing. Now, the moment you accept those things is the only time we can accept the doctrine of election. The doctrine that God is the one who chooses. As long as we don't accept that He is the potter, we are the clay, election, predestination will never be something you can fully, truly accept. Third application is this: 100% surrender. If we truly accept, and I know I'm repeating this lang, but it bears repeating. If we truly accept that God is sovereign and He's the potter and we are the clay, then we can not only accept, but we can rest when it comes to our career, our relationships, our finances, our love life, every area of your life, your health, your ministry, your concerns, whatever they may be, habits, sinful patterns, all those things, we can say, Lord, I should not be impatient. Lord, I'm going to trust you. Doesn't mean we don't stop trying. We still keep trying. And because God is sovereign, we are encouraged to try even more. Do you agree?
That's right.
How about this? Let me ask you a question. If your boss told you, do something for me, okay? I want you to go to Carbon and I want you to buy fish. Okay? When you get there and you buy fish, I want a specific kind of fish, and he gives you a picture, he gives you all the details of this very specific kind of fish. And then he says, in Carbon, there's going to be a lot of people there selling the same kind of fish, Now you be the one to figure it out. Just go. And if you return and it's not the right kind of fish, bantay ka. Is it scary? It's scary, right? But what if God says this? Go, buy the fish, and if you make a mistake, if you buy the wrong kind of fish, you know what? I'm so good in cooking, I'm going to cook it that it's going to taste just like the fish I would have wanted you to get. Doesn't that give you even more confidence to go? That is the sovereignty of God. You can try and you can fail, but you know that when you fail, God will fix whatever mess you make. God can still fix everything. He redeems every single flaw. And the last part is this. We have to understand that if we don't accept 100% that God is sovereign, God is the potter, we are the clay, if we don't accept that, you have to understand that is the root of all rebellion. That is the root of every sin, the root of every idol. I'll give you just one example. When, let's say, because it's Valentine's Day, I will use the Valentine theme. Let's just say you have so many friends, and you're the only single person left. And then, on Valentine's Day, they're all going out with all their dates. But because you're a Christian, you're saying, God, you know, I want a Christian partner, not just anybody. You know, and so you start bringing up your Bible and you start quoting the verses. Do not be unequally yoked. And I, you know, Lord, you are my portion, you are my strength. And then a part of your heart is just like beating so hard saying, God, wala pa rin siya. Now, what's happening? What's fighting in your heart? There's part of it, there's loneliness. You agree? There's probably loneliness. There's probably this sense of longing. And of course, there's jealousy. You look at everyone smiling, holding bouquets of flowers in the mall, and you're thinking, Allah. And in your mind, walang forever. But really, you know, there's a part of your heart that's already kind of getting resentful. Right? But what really is the root? Here's the root. The devil says this. You know what? God promised He's going to satisfy you. He's going to make you content. He can't. You know what can give you contentment? A relationship. That dude, that gal. Kato. Dugay na mo, friends. You know, God, where has God been all this time? You've been praying. How long have you been praying? Dugay na. And yet, wala pa rin. Maybe He's not hearing you. You see how it works? So basically, at the end of all the arguments, at the end of all the weighing of the pros and cons, it all boils down to one thing. Do you trust that when God says, not the right time for you, my son, not the right time for you, my daughter, I'm preparing you for something great, for this wonderful relationship that I planned, my way, not your way. And if you choose my way, it's going to be wonderful. If you choose your way, well, it's going to be ungodly. And then, when we rebel, what we're actually saying is this: I don't trust you, God. At the end of the day, what we're saying is, I am sovereign. I know what's best for me, not you. I know what's better. I know what gives me fulfillment and joy. In other words, we're quoting the devil when he tempted Adam, saying, I will know right and wrong. I will know good and evil. I know the difference, not God. When you believe in the sovereignty of God, you can rest secure. You can say, Lord, whatever you desire for me, I'll trust it. All I have to do is obey. And at the end of the day, I know that your plans for me is good for me, to your glory, so I become more like your son. And that's what matters most, and that's what gives me the most joy as well. Amen?